All right, welcome back now to the Tuesday edition of Sports Grill. And now we head into what I consider will be a very special interview. We've got Guyanese journalist Brandon Corlette joining us, and he is going to help us to chronicle the rise of Shamar Joseph, who turned out to be the hero for the West Indies in their second test match against Australia to level that series 1-1 and to help the West Indies secure a test win in Australia for the first time in 27 years and bring tears to the eyes of legends like Brian Lara and people like Carl Hooper, and commendations from all the Australians, even past Australian greats as well. And I think Brandon, as he joins us now, was, if not the first, one of the very first people to actually write about young Shamar Joseph. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Grill.
Hi, good evening. Good evening to you and your listeners. It's a privilege for me to say that I was the only person that visited Baracara as a journalist and tell the Shamar Joseph story. And to see him perform the way he did in Australia, I would say I was in awe. I couldn't believe what I was seeing because I had spoke to him the night before and asked him if he was fit to play. He said he was in pain. So I didn't expect him at all to even take the field. And I was stunned by his performance, man.
Just like the rest of us. But I want to go back to what you started off by saying, that you were the only journalist to visit Baracara and actually sit down with him and write a story about him. What prompted you to visit this youngster and actually, publish a story about him? What did you see at that time?
Well, he's a genuine individual. He showed great promise. And he had told me that if he take a 5-wicket haul in Grenada, right, in the regional first class tournament, I will have to go to Baracara because we spoke a lot prior to the first class season. And I told him that, I would want to go to Baracara, but I'm afraid of speedboats because it's 2 hours to Baracara in a speedboat and 2 hours back to land. So that prompted me to actually go into Baracara because I know he's a genuine person. He told me that if he took 5-wicket haul, I will have to go to Baracara. And of course, I saw promise in Shamar Joseph even before he played for the CPL or West Indies. I know he's a genuine and great individual.
Yeah, so is that the first time you saw him play was in the regional 4-day?
No, actually, I saw him play local cricket in Berbice because I am from Berbice and I cover a lot of cricket in Berbice. And I saw him play a first division encounter in West Berbice against Achievers. And he took 5 wickets and he demolished that team. And I was surprised, actually.
What year was that?
That was in 2022.
2022.
Yeah.
Before that, how much cricket did he play before that?
Well, not much, to be honest. So in Guyana, you have to play for Berbice at the junior levels and Guyana at the junior levels, and then you're recognized to play for Guyana. In fact, Joseph never played any junior cricket for Berbice. He just played club cricket for Tugboat Park, and then he went to Georgetown, and he was, around the team, the Guyana team. He was at net sessions, and he was seen there, and he impressed every individual that was present.
Yeah, so hold on. So you said you saw him play in 2022, and that was club cricket. You said
Club cricket, correct.
The name of his club is what?
Tugboat Park Cricket Club he played for, and it was against Achievers in West Berbice.
Mm-hmm. And how much club cricket did he play before that? Was that his first year of club cricket? Was that his second or third year? Like, what's...
So the thing with Shamar Joseph, he grew up in the 7 Days Adventist Church, and he wasn't really allowed to play as much cricket. So he would have played some amount of under 15 cricket, a handful of games. But that was it. He wasn't allowed because Baracara is a remote area, and that's 2 hours away from Tugboat Park. And he wasn't allowed to come out every weekend to just play cricket. And Saturday, he had to attend church.
Yeah. So Brandon, Baracara, give me a kind of a picture of this remote place called Baracara. You know, how many people live there? Like, what's it like there?
To be honest, it's unbelievable. It's a different world by itself. There is no road. If you want to go to the school, there's a school in Baracara and there's a church there and a handful of houses. If you want to attend the school, you have to jump in the boat and go to the school, right? Or you can swim. Most kids do. They swim actually. But to be honest, the love in Baracara is genuine. Everyone lives together as a family. There's not much technology there. The school has Wi-Fi. And let's say if you want to send a WhatsApp message to someone on the road in the city, you have to go to the school or close to the school to have Wi-Fi or data.
Are you serious?
To send information across. Yes. Yes.
Wow. I mean, this is fascinating. So there's one school over there.
Correct.
And if you to go to the school, you have to go by boat or you have to swim to the school?
Correct. There is no road. You can't say, okay, this is my house, this is Shamar's house, okay, I'll walk and go to the school. You can't walk. There is no road. You have to go into the boat or some of the kids swim.
That is remarkable. So it seems to me, because when I look at Shamar, and we've heard, you know, you're shedding more light on his story than we've heard before, because, you know, people are picking up this story now globally and talking about, you know, his working as a security guard and as I think a laborer and, you know, all kind of other jobs while playing cricket. But it's tremendous to hear you tell this story. So even you being from Berbice, you were afraid. You had never been over to Baracara. You were afraid to go over there.
Of course, it's a long way, man. It's not somewhere everyone go to. And that was my first time. And trust me, I definitely want to go there again. The love, it's genuine. It's a different world by itself. That's how I would describe it.
Mm-hmm. And so it seemed to me, I don't know if Shamar used to swim to school, but it just seems to me that he has this, whether it's innate or developed, athleticism and fitness. He just seems a natural athlete. He seems strong and fit. I don't know if that's because he had to endure such hardships and probably have to do a lot of physical work, but his body is not frail as you'd expect from someone who is fresh in international cricket.
Definitely. I don't think there's an ounce of fat on Shamar Joseph, to be honest. But Shamar Joseph did a lot of work, right? A lot of manual work in Baracara, farming and all these things. And they normally played cricket and swim. There's not technology there. You can't say, okay, let me go on my laptop and watch a TV series or anything of that sort. It's different there. It's totally different.
You hear that, young kids? and that's so funny you should say that, Brandon, because, you know, one of the complaints from the older generation and the legends past is that when we're talking about why isn't there the talent coming through as it used to before, that's one of the complaints, is that these kids nowadays have so much options. They have technology. They're on their smartphones and their tablets and they're playing video games all the time and they're not physically active. And so they have no interest in especially playing a sport like cricket, which, you know, in the longest format can go up to 5 days. And, you know, it takes too much time from them. They're used to quick success. And here is a youngster who is in that generation who is completely different because his upbringing, you know, would have taught him all the values of working hard, and he didn't have the luxuries of technology and so on, and all of that. You know, interestingly though, Brandon, I'm just thinking of what it would have been like. So he played a couple of games. I think it was first class games in the regional 4-day competition, and then I think only another couple of games in the CPL. I'm not sure how many. I think maybe 2 or 3 for Guyana as well. So even then, he was still very, very much, rough around the edges, so to speak, as in terms of cricket, where cricket was concerned. Were you following him right the way through, even up to when he went on the A tour?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he is one of the cricketers that would actually call me than I would call them. Right? He's that genuine of a person, and it's not like he would only talk about success. There would be dark days and so on, but he would be available to listen and learn and so on. And I would definitely follow every aspect of his game, and I would, advise him from time to time. And not only me, I mean, Ian Bishop, I think he is a true person that can say that he was there from the inception with Shamar Joseph, because during the CPL, Ian Bishop was there and he recognized Shamar. And I think when Shamar was around the team hotel, he would always have conversations with Ian Bishop. In fact, Bishop would recommend to see Shamar at the hotel and give him tips. So it's a phenomenal story. I can't say anything more, man.
Yeah. I mean, so it's funny because Guyana has, in my mind, been producing some great talent, both at the youth level and the senior level, and Guyana has been doing very well at the regional 4-day level as well. But it's a country, and I'm sure you as a journalist, would have written about this several times, that has seen issues and kind of conflict within the cricketing structure. And whether or not to recognize the cricket board over there and the Berbice being so dominant. Give me a little bit of a picture of the power dynamic in Guyanese cricket, because it seems you've mentioned Berbice and everything having to come through Berbice. It seems like there's almost a divide almost. Can you paint a picture for us?
Yeah, definitely. It's not the best of state, as it relates to the administrative side of cricket. So Berbice would definitely, produce a lot of players in recent times. Shamar Joseph, Godekesh Moti, Romario Shepherd and all these guys, Shimron Hetmyer. And then there's the Guyana Cricket Board, which is based in Demerara. And Demerara is another county in Guyana. So there's Berbice, Demerara, and Essequibo. And those three county boards make up the country board, which is the Guyana Cricket Board. And of course, I wouldn't come and sugarcoat it. It's the fact that these boards, they are not, living in harmony, especially when it comes to the Berbice Cricket Board and the Guyana Cricket Board and the Demerara Cricket Board. There's a lot of differences there. But the cricket continues to play, and that's a good sign, right? That's a good sign.
Mm-hmm. And I want to run this by you as well, Brandon. Ian Bishop suggested on Twitter that, to keep Shamar Joseph fresh and healthy and fit and not risk overplaying him is that, because of course the franchise leagues are going to come calling, and we've already seen where he signed on with Darren Sami's team in the Pakistan Super League, the Peshawar Zalmi, is that, the government should consider, and corporate companies in Guyana should consider giving Shamar Joseph, or paying Shamar Joseph, so to speak, so that he can feel comfortable, stay home in Guyana, not have to, go to the Bangladesh Premier League and the IPL and the Pakistan Super League and the BBL and all these T20 franchise leagues around the world, and so that he'll be fresh for West Indies. How realistic is that?
All I would say, it's food for thought, but it's not realistic in the world that we live in today. The president of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, definitely has a lot of interest in cricket, more so Shamar Joseph. And he was there from the inception as early as after the interview in Baracara. I think the president, showed a lot of interest in Shamar Joseph. But when you look at the cricket dynamics in the world today, there's so much T20 leagues and very lucrative. And I think it's not easy for a government, the government of Guyana or corporate Guyana or the business community to provide for Shamar Joseph. I mean, when you look at the $1 million contracts, these guys, Shimron Hetmyer, Nicholas Puran, and all these guys sign for the IPL. I mean, once there is not Test cricket, Shamar Joseph would definitely want to play the IPL. All right, I can say that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's funny. I've been having this grand debate with some of my friends on WhatsApp about whether it was workable, that suggestion was workable, and I actually agree with you 100%. And as Michael Holding, West Indies legend, of course, said when we had a chat with him here on our platform, is that he said, listen, all these cricketers nowadays have agents. And what's the job of an agent? The job of an agent is to get you work and to make as much money for your clients as possible. And a part of that is by playing franchise cricket. Of course, from a West Indies standpoint, what we would hope is that, and Shamar has already said that he'll always make himself available to play test cricket for the West Indies. So what we'd hope is that we can strike a balance in terms of a medium. You mentioned Shimron Hetmyer. You mentioned, of course, the likes of Romario Shepherd and so on, some of the top cricketers that Guyana has produced. What we want to do is strike a balance between playing test cricket and making yourself available for the West Indies whenever they have tours and playing franchise cricket. But listen, Brandon, I'm not going to blame any cricketer who decides to go ahead and, play franchise cricket in their youthful days, because you just never know. And this career, the sporting career, is short. And the West Indies, based on how the current ICC structure is set up, is not a part of the big three. We don't earn as much as Australia, India, and England. We just can't afford to pay our players the way they do. And I think even Johnny Graves said this recently. And that's why we had to send a squad of 7 uncapped players to Australia to play that test series. Because some of the likes of the guys you mentioned, including Hetmyer, not being there, including the likes of Jason Holder, including, Shea Hope and so on, who made themselves unavailable. And that's why, people like Shamar Joseph, for example, like Justin Greaves and like a Kavim Hodge got into the squad in the first place and got an opportunity to show what they have. By the way, quick question, and I know we didn't, plan to necessarily talk about the other players, but just a quick word on the Hetmyer situation. Is there an update on that? Because he was dropped from the limited over squad when we were playing, was it England out here in the Caribbean?
Yes.
And we haven't heard anything since. And of course, he hasn't played since. Have you had an update on what Shimron's situation is?
Yeah, so Shimron Hetmyer is actually in Dubai playing right now in the ILT20 for Golf Giants. And of course, he was dropped. He didn't have good returns against England, and that was expected, to be fair, because the numbers weren't there, and it could not have put an argument for Hetmyer to go to Australia and play the white ball series. But as a good a player is Hetmyer, I think he will bounce back. The IPL is around the corner, and that T20 World Cup is on the horizon. I think he would want to get back into form and stake a claim for that T20 World Cup.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. By the way, with Shamar, Brandon, is that he's returning home. He's supposed to be heading back to Guyana as we speak, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So he should return home. He should arrive in Guyana, I think, on Thursday. And then he should be resting, recovering from that toe injury, and then jet off to Pakistan to play the Pakistan Super League next month.
Have you heard anything about what type of reception he's likely to get, or maybe that's put on hold? Is he likely to meet a big party at the airport with the top brass in Guyana out there and lots of media and everything? What kind of reception is he likely to get once he lands in Guyana?
I mean, that would have been something that should have been planned already. But I'm expecting a lot of individuals there. Of course, he should have a hero's welcome. Who knows?
Yeah. And in terms of what do you think his prospects are in terms of white ball cricket for the West Indies in the near future? Because, well, of course, the next ODI World Cup is not until 2027, but then with the T20 World Cup coming up this year, what are we to expect of his prospects, in terms of getting into the West Indies squad in the shortest format?
Yeah, I think he's working his way towards that. He wants to play all 3 formats for the West Indies. And we must note that West Indies is not one of the big 3 that would play 20 test matches, 15 test matches a year. It's just, I think, 7 matches for this year. So there is a lot of time for Shamar Joseph to play white ball cricket. And if he is rewarded with contract, he would want to be selected for all three formats for the West Indies and stake a claim for that T20 World Cup.
Yeah, indeed. I'm sure he would want to be, and I'm sure that West Indies fans and the West Indies selectors would love if he makes himself available, because, listen, the performance that this young man put in Australia is one for the ages. Of course, we look forward to more great things from Shamar. Thank you so much for joining us, Brandon. Thank you for giving us that wonderful chronology of events in the career so far of Shamar Joseph. And, of course, we look forward to probably joining you again when he does some more heroics for the West Indies.
Yes, thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure.
All right, Brandon Corlette there, Guyanese journalist, the first to write about Shamar Joseph, who led the West Indies to a famous test victory over Australia.